The hidden language of body signals. The introduction. The unseen threshold. Imagine you are standing in a crowded room. The air is thick with the scent of roasted coffee and old paper. You feel the weight of your own coat heavy on your shoulders. The fabric is slightly coarse against the back of your neck. Your heart is a rhythmic drum beating against your ribs. Every person around you is a broadcast station. They are sending signals, silent frequencies, into the atmosphere. Most of these signals go unheard. They are the whispers of the nervous system, the data of the soul. We move through these waves like swimmers in a dark ocean. Think back to a moment of deep, crushing uncertainty. Perhaps you were sitting in a chair. The plastic felt cold against your thighs. The room was too bright, the fluorescent lights humming, a low electric buzz. You felt a knot in your stomach, a tightening in your throat. You didn't know why, but your body did. Your palms were damp, a microscopic layer of salt and water. This is the skin's way of preparing for a struggle. It is an ancient reflex designed to help you grip a weapon or a tree branch. But here you are, merely holding a ballpoint pen. The pen feels slick, slippery in your grasp. We often treat our bodies like mere transport for our heads. We think, therefore we are. But the body is not just a passenger, it is the driver. It processes millions of bits of information every single second. Your brain is a vast, dusty library, but your body is the librarian. The librarian knows which books are forbidden. The librarian knows which shelves are rotting from the inside out. When you walk into a room, your body has already performed a census. It has counted the exits. It has measured the tension in the host's jaw. It has sensed the temperature of the social climate before a word is spoken. The language of the flesh is older than the language of the tongue. Before we had nouns, we had the dilation of a pupil. Before we had verbs, we had the shiver of a spine. This is the biological heritage of every human being. It is a legacy of survival written in the chemistry of our blood. Consider the metabolic cost of a single spoken sentence. The brain must coordinate the lungs, the larynx, and the tongue. It must choose symbols and arrange them in a logical sequence. Speech is expensive. It requires focus and deliberate intent. But the body speaks for free. The body cannot help but leak the truth. It is a vessel with 1,000 tiny cracks weeping information. When we try to hide our fear, the capillaries in our face betray us. When we try to mask our boredom, the toes inside our shoes begin to point toward the door. The door represents freedom, and the feet are already halfway there. In this journey, we will slow down the clock. We will peel back the layers of social conditioning like bark from a tree. We will learn to hear the creak of the floorboards before the house speaks. You will learn that silence is never truly empty. It is a vacuum waiting to be filled with understanding. Silence has its own texture, its own weight. There is the silence of a library, heavy with the ghosts of thoughts. There is the silence of a desert, vast and indifferent. And there is the silence between two people, which can be a bridge or a wall. We will learn to measure the thickness of that wall. Take a deep breath. Feel the cool air enter your nostrils. Notice how your lungs expand like a sail catching a gentle wind. The world is noisy, but we are seeking the quiet truth, the hidden language of the self. Prepare to listen, not with your ears, but with your skin. Chapter 1: The Architecture of the Microshift. The human face is a map of 1,000 roads. Each road leads to a different emotion, a different chemical state. Research suggests that we possess over 40 individual facial muscles. They can create thousands of expressions, many of which last only a fraction of a second. These are the micro-expressions, the phantoms of the psyche. They are the leaks in the dam, the truth escaping the mask. When we try to hide a feeling, the brain enters a civil war. The conscious mind wants to stay composed. It wants to present a facade. But the limbic system, the ancient lizard brain, wants to scream. This friction creates the microshift. Imagine a building shifting its weight during an earthquake. To the casual observer, the walls look solid. But to the engineer, the tiny cracks in the plaster tell the story. The microshift is that crack, a brief misalignment of the soul. It is the moment the mask slips and the actor is revealed. The science. The limbic system is the emotional engine of the brain. It operates much faster than the prefrontal cortex, where we process logic. When you feel a flash of anger or a spark of joy, it fires instantly. It sends a sharp signal to the facial nerves before you can even think to stop it. By the time your logic catches up, the signal has already been broadcast. We call this the leakage effect in psychological circles. It is the involuntary display of a concealed emotion. Even the most skilled poker player cannot fully suppress the nervous system. The skin may flush slightly as blood rushes to the surface. The eyelids may flicker, a microscopic blink that signals a desire to hide. Research by Dr. Paul Ekman has categorized these movements into universal codes: disgust, contempt, fear, and surprise. These are not learned behaviors, they are biological constants. A child born blind will still pull back their lips in a sneer of disgust. The map of the face is hard-coded into our DNA. The case study. Consider a man named Elias, sitting in a high-stakes negotiation. He is wearing a sharp charcoal suit. The fabric is stiff and expensive. The air conditioning in the office hums, a low, steady drone that masks the silence. Elias is smiling, nodding at the proposal on the table. His voice is steady, like a calm lake. But look closer at the corner of his left eye. For a brief moment, the skin tightens, a tiny crow's foot appears and vanishes. His lips thin for a heartbeat, pulling back against his teeth. It is a micro-expression of contempt, hidden beneath a layer of professional courtesy. He says he is interested, but his face has already rejected the offer. His hands are hidden under the table, away from view. He is gripping his knees until his knuckles turn white, like bleached bone. The person across from him feels a sudden, inexplicable chill. They don't see the micro-expression consciously, but their brain registers the discord. The deal falls through, because the unspoken language was louder than the words. The drill. While you listen, I want you to focus on your own jaw.
Do not move it, just observe it, as if you were a stranger. Is there a slight clench? A tiny bit of pressure in the molars? Now, very slowly, let your tongue fall away from the roof of your mouth. Feel the space, the hollow vacuum that forms in your oral cavity. Notice the sensation of release, the way the skin around your ears relaxes. This is a micro shift, performed with intention. Now, try to hold a fake smile for 10 seconds. Notice the strain, the way the muscles around your eyes refuse to join in. The eyes are the gatekeepers. They rarely lie for a fake smile. Now, think of a person you truly love, someone who brings you peace. Feel the difference in the weight of your cheeks. Feel how the heat moves in your face, softening the edges of your expression. This is the Duchenne response, the genuine bloom of emotion. Carry this awareness into your next conversation.
The what if. What if you misinterpret a signal and see a ghost where there is only a shadow? We often fear that we are overanalyzing or being paranoid. A twitch is not always a lie. Sometimes a twitch is just a twitch. The environment matters. The temperature of the room matters. A person may cross their arms because they are defensive, or simply because they are cold. We must look for clusters. In the architecture of the body, one signal is just a single brick, but 3 signals, occurring together, create a wall. If the jaw is tight, the arms are crossed, and the feet are pointed away, then you have a sentence, a clear statement of withdrawal. Never rely on a single flicker. Instead, look for the rhythm of the person. Establish a baseline, the way they look when they are at rest. Only when the rhythm changes should you pay attention. The goal is not to be a human lie detector. It is to be a more empathetic observer, to see the struggle beneath the surface of the skin.
Chapter 2: The Torso, the Shield, and the Softness. The torso is the hull of the human ship, the protective casing for our most vital instruments. Within this cage of bone and muscle lie the heart and the lungs. Because these organs are essential for life, the body is fiercely protective of them. When we feel threatened or even slightly uneasy, our trunk reacts with ancient defensive protocols. We often think of communication as something that happens in the air between faces. But the midsection is a silent barometer of our comfort and our safety. It is the anchor of our presence, and it tells the story of our confidence. The way we orient our chest is the way we orient our soul toward the world. The science. Research suggests that ventral denial is one of our most common subconscious acts. The ventral side is our front, our soft, vulnerable underside. When we are with people we trust, we ventral face, exposing our heart and stomach to them. It is a signal of ultimate safety, a declaration that we do not expect a blow. However, when we encounter someone we dislike, or a topic that causes stress, we pivot. We might turn our body slightly to the side, creating a bladed stance. This reduces the target area of our vital organs, a reflex left over from the days of predators. Even the act of crossing your arms acts as a literal barrier, a fabric and flesh shield. The case study. Imagine Sarah, a graphic designer, presenting her work to a difficult client. The room is minimalist, white walls, and a glass table that feels like ice. Sarah stands at the head of the table, her laptop open like a book. The client,
A woman with a sharp bob sits perfectly still. As Sarah explains her choice of colors, the client slowly reaches for her coffee mug. She doesn't drink. She simply holds the mug in front of her chest with both hands. Then she leans back, increasing the distance between her heart and Sarah's screen. The client hasn't said a word of criticism, but Sarah feels her stomach drop. The cradling of the mug and the leaning back are signals of withdrawal. The client is creating a fortress, a physical boundary against the ideas being presented. Sarah sees this, and instead of pushing harder, she slows her voice. She realizes the shield is up, and she must find a way to make the room feel safe again.
The drill. Wherever you are right now, I want you to notice your breathing. Is your chest moving, or is your belly moving? Place one hand on your sternum and the other on your navel. Take a slow breath and feel which hand rises first. If only the top hand moves, you are in a state of high chest breathing. This is the breathing of the stressed, the vigilant, the ready to run. Try to guide the air deeper, down past the ribs, into the soft belly. Feel the expansion, the way that tension in your midsection begins to dissolve. Now, imagine a person standing in front of you who makes you nervous. Notice if your shoulders want to hunch forward to hide your heart. Deliberately roll your shoulders back and open your chest. Feel the vulnerability, but also feel the sudden surge of quiet power.
The what if. What if someone is just comfortable with their arms crossed? This is a frequent point of debate in the study of body signals. Sometimes a person crosses their arms because they are cold or the chair has no armrests. We must look at the liminal space, the space between the body and the environment. If their legs are crossed loosely and their head is tilted, the crossed arms may just be a rest. But if the thumbs are tucked away and the grip is tight, it is a shield. Always ask yourself, is the body expanding or is it contracting? Confidence occupies space. Fear tries to become a single invisible point.
Chapter 3. The Extremities, the Narrative of the Hands. The hands are the most articulate part of the human body, second only to the tongue. They are the tools of creation and the instruments of expression. In the brain, the area dedicated to the movement of the hands is massive. It is as if the mind sees the hands as its primary ambassadors. When we speak, our hands are performing a parallel symphony. They illustrate our thoughts, they emphasize our points, and they reveal our hidden doubts. A hand that is open and visible is a hand that carries no weapon. This is why, throughout history, the open palm has been a gesture of peace. Image showing different hand gestures, steepling, palms up, palms down. The science. There is a profound connection between the hands and the Broca's area of the brain, which handles speech. Research shows that if you prevent a person from moving their hands, their speech becomes less fluent. They struggle to find words, their sentences become shorter and more fragmented. The hands, quite literally, help us think. One of the most powerful signals is steepling, touching the fingertips together like a church spire. This is a high confidence gesture, often used by those in positions of authority. Conversely, pacifying behaviors, like rubbing the neck or stroking the thigh, are the body's way of self-soothing, much like a mother strokes a child. The case study. Let us look at David, a young lawyer, arguing his first major case. The courtroom is old.
The wood is dark and polished, smelling of wax and dust. David is speaking well, his logic is sound, his citations are accurate. But as the judge asks a pointed question, David's hand goes to his tie. He adjusts it, then he rubs the back of his neck, a quick, repetitive motion. The skin on his neck turns slightly pink from the friction. To the jury, he looks prepared, but to the judge, he looks uncertain. The neck rub is a classic pacifier, an attempt to calm the vagus nerve. The judge notices that David's hands then move to his pockets, hiding the palms. Hiding the hands is often a subconscious signal of hiding the truth or hiding the self. Even though David's words are strong, his hands are whispering, "I am overwhelmed." The courtroom remains silent, but the energy has shifted toward doubt.
The drill. Hold your hands out in front of you, palms facing down. Notice the weight of your arms, the tension in your wrists. This is the command position. It feels heavy, authoritative, perhaps a bit restrictive. Now, slowly, rotate your wrists until your palms are facing the sky. Feel the difference in your chest and your throat. The open palm position invites dialogue. It signals transparency. Now, touch the tips of your fingers together, forming a steeple. Press them together just enough to feel the pulse in your fingertips. This is the bridge between your left and right brain. Practice this gesture when you want to feel grounded and sure of your words. Notice how it steadies your breathing and focuses your mind.
The what if. What about cultural differences or crowded cities like Tokyo or New York? In high-density cultures, the personal bubble is naturally smaller. People have adapted to being physically close without it being a social threat. They use psychological distancing, like looking at a phone or closing their eyes, to create space. In these environments, the signal is not the distance, but the eye contact. If you are close to someone, but you avoid their gaze, you are signaling, "I am not a threat." Respecting the psychological wall is just as important as respecting the physical one. In a crowded world, our manners are our most effective shields.
Chapter 4. The lower half, the foundation of intent. We often ignore what happens beneath the table, yet the legs and feet are the most honest parts of the human body. Because they are furthest from the brain, they are the hardest to consciously control. While we are busy manicuring our facial expressions, our feet are shouting our true intentions. They are the honesty sensors of our biological frame, rooted in the earth or ready to bolt. In the evolution of our species, the legs were the primary tools of survival. They were the difference between life and death during a predator's hunt. Even today, in a modern office or a quiet living room, our feet react to social threats. They shift, they point, and they dance to a rhythm we rarely acknowledge.
The science. Research suggests that the freeze, flight, fight response is most visible in the lower extremities. When we are comfortable, our legs can be crossed or stretched out in a display of relaxation. However, when we experience a sudden limbic startle, the feet instantly prepare for action. They may flatten against the floor, or the toes may point toward the nearest exit. This is known as directional intent. If someone is talking to you, but their feet are pointed toward the door, their mind is already gone. The torso may be facing you out of politeness, but the foundation is seeking an escape. Similarly, gravity-defying movements like bouncing a heel often signal excitement or high-arousal anxiety.
The case study. Imagine Marcus, a manager, conducting a performance review with an employee named Sarah. They are sitting in low, plush chairs across a small coffee table. Marcus is speaking about future goals. His voice is supportive. His hands are open. Sarah is nodding. Her face is a mask of professional interest. But look at Sarah's feet, hidden partially by the table's edge. One foot is tucked tightly behind the other ankle, a position known as ankle locking. This is a digital version of biting one's lip, a sign of holding back negative emotion or fear. As Marcus mentions a specific deadline, Sarah's top foot begins to kick rhythmically, a tiny nervous twitch. Marcus sees the ankle lock and realizes Sarah is not being cooperative, she is being compliant. She is terrified, and the rhythmic kicking is her body's way of burning off the adrenaline of the threat. Instead of continuing his lecture, Marcus pauses and offers her a glass of water. The moment she moves to take it, her feet unfreeze, and the true conversation can begin.
The drill. Shift your awareness now, down to the soles of your feet. Feel the texture of your socks or the firmness of the floor beneath you. Are your toes curled, gripping the inside of your shoes? If they are, take a moment to wiggle them, to let the blood flow back into the tips. Now, try to cross your legs at the ankles and pull them back under your chair. Notice how this makes your upper body feel. Does it feel more guarded? Now, place both feet flat on the ground, shoulder-width apart. This is the power base, the stance of the grounded and the secure. Feel the stability moving up from the earth, through your shins to your hips. This position signals to your own brain that you are safe and you are immovable. Practice sitting this way during your next difficult phone call. You will find it much harder to feel intimidated when your foundation is solid.
The what if. What if someone has restless leg syndrome or a habit of fidgeting? It is true that some people have a higher baseline of physical energy. For them, a bouncing knee might not mean anxiety, it might just be their idle state. This is why we must look for the change in the movement, the departure from baseline. If they are always bouncing and then they suddenly stop, that is the signal. The limbic freeze is a powerful indicator of a sudden shock or a significant thought. When the music of the body stops, the mind has hit a wall. Always look for the silence in the movement, as much as the movement itself.
Chapter 5. The Space Between, Proxemics and the Invisible Bubble. We all carry an invisible architecture around us, a cathedral of personal space. This is the study of proxemics, the way we use the air between ourselves and others. The distance we keep is a physical manifestation of our emotional intimacy. When someone enters our bubble without an invitation, it isn't just rude, it is a biological violation. The brain processes a breach of personal space as a physical threat. The amygdala fires, the heart rate climbs, and the skin temperature rises. We are constantly negotiating these invisible borders in every hallway and every elevator. Understanding these zones is the key to mastering the social atmosphere. The science. Research pioneered by Edward T. Hall suggests there are 4 distinct zones of space. The intimate zone is reserved for those we love, usually within 18 inches of our skin. The personal zone is for friends and familiar colleagues, a comfortable arm's length. The social zone is for strangers and formal interactions, a safe 4 to 12 feet. Finally, the public zone, where we feel part of a crowd, but individually protected. When these boundaries are crossed, our body performs buffer behaviors. We might turn our head away or place an object like a bag or a laptop between us and the intruder. We are trying to reconstruct the wall with whatever materials are at hand. The space is not just nothing, it is the medium through which we transmit power. The case study. Consider Julian, a newcomer at a crowded cocktail party. The room is humming with voices, clinking glass, and jazz music. Julian is talking to a potential employer, a man who likes to stand very close. The employer is in Julian's intimate zone, hovering just 12 inches from his face. Julian feels his back hit the wall. He has run out of physical space to retreat. His eyes begin to scan the room, looking for a path to the bar or the restroom. He begins to eye block, blinking more frequently or looking down at his drink. Even though the conversation is about a great job, Julian's body is in a state of high vigilance. The employer thinks he's being friendly, but he is actually smothering the opportunity. Julian's brain is so focused on the proximity threat that he can't process the details of the offer. By the end of the night, Julian feels exhausted, not from the networking, but from the constant, silent defense of his bubble. The drill. The next time you are in a public place, I want you to become a space architect. Notice the distance people keep from one another, at the bus stop or in a queue. Find a safe person, a friend or a family member, and play with the bubble. Slowly step 6 inches closer than usual while you are talking about something mundane. Watch their eyes. Do they widen slightly? Watch their feet. Do they shift their weight back onto their heels? Now, step back to a distance of 3 feet and notice the visible thaw. Notice how their breathing becomes deeper and their shoulders drop. Learning to read the air allows you to adjust your presence to the comfort of others. By giving space, you are actually giving respect. By claiming space, you are demonstrating authority. The air is your canvas. Learn to paint with it. The what if. What about cultural differences or crowded cities like Tokyo or New York? In high-density cultures, the personal bubble is naturally smaller. People have adapted to being physically close without it being a social threat. They use psychological distancing, like looking at a phone or closing their eyes, to create space. In these environments, the signal is not the distance, but the eye contact. If you are close to someone but you avoid their gaze, you are signaling, "I am not a threat." Respecting the psychological wall is just as important as respecting the physical one. In a crowded world, our manners are our most effective shields. Chapter 6. The Vocal Subtext, the Music of Truth. While words are the passengers, the voice is the vehicle. We often focus so much on what we are saying that we forget how we are sounding. The human voice is a complex wind instrument, played by the autonomic nervous system. It is connected directly to our vagus nerve, which regulates our heart and lungs. When we are stressed, our vocal cords tighten like the strings of a violin pulled too taut. A change in pitch, a catch in the throat, or a sudden increase in speed, these are not accidents. They are the acoustic signatures of our internal state. Research suggests that listeners are more likely to believe the tone than the text. If the voice is thin and brittle, the most confident words in the world will ring hollow. The ears, it seems, are better lie detectors than the eyes. The science. The stress response has a physical effect on the anatomy of speech. When the fight or flight system activates, the muscles in the throat contract. This raises the pitch of the voice, making it sound squeezed or childlike. Saliva production also decreases, leading to dry mouth and the clicking sounds of a sticky tongue. These are biological markers of high cortisol, which the listener perceives as instability. Conversely, a deep, resonant voice signals a relaxed state. It suggests that the speaker is breathing from the diaphragm, not the upper chest. In evolutionary terms, a steady, lower frequency tone indicates a non-threat. It is the sound of a leader who is not afraid of the environment. The vocal fry or the uptalk at the end of a sentence are modern signals of seeking approval or hidden hesitation. The case study. Consider Elena, a scientist giving a presentation to a room of skeptical investors. She knows her data is flawless, her slides are beautiful, her logic is airtight.
But as she stands behind the podium, she feels the cold air of the room. Her first sentence comes out half an octave higher than usual. It sounds thin, as if the words are floating rather than landing. She begins to speak faster, trying to get through the difficult technical points. She misses the natural pauses, the beats where the audience can digest the information. The investors begin to frown, not at the data, but at the frequency of the delivery. They hear nervousness, and their brains translate that into unreliable. Elena's voice is telling a story of fear, while her slides are telling a story of triumph. Halfway through, Elena remembers to pause and take a deep, silent breath. She feels her throat open, and her next sentence is lower, slower, and richer. The acoustic shift is immediate. The investors lean in. Their own heart rates begin to sync with her steady rhythm. She has regained the room, not with a better fact, but with a better sound. The drill. I want you to try a vocal hum. Close your lips gently and make a low, steady sound. Feel the vibration in your chest and in your lips. If the vibration is only in your throat, your voice is trapped in the stress zone. Try to move the hum down into your solar plexus. Now, speak a simple sentence like, "The weather is clear today." Speak it once while holding your breath in your upper chest. Notice how tight and flat it sounds. Now, exhale fully. Take a belly breath and speak the sentence again on the exhale. Notice the roundness, the way the words seem to have more gravity. This is your authentic voice. It is the voice that people trust because it is the voice of a regulated nervous system. Practice resonance eking when you have something important to say. The sound of your truth should be as solid as the truth itself.
The what if. What if you have a naturally high voice or a speech impediment? Authenticity is not about having a movie trailer voice. It is about the congruence between the emotion and the sound. A high voice that is steady and rhythmic is far more powerful than a deep voice that is shaky. The enemy of communication is vocal discord. This happens when you say something happy with a voice that sounds sad, or when you say you are fine with a voice that is clipped and sharp. People are looking for the harmony, the alignment of the message and the music. Focus on the breath, and the music will take care of itself.
Chapter 7. The Congruence, the Art of the Whole. We have traveled from the flicker of the eye to the placement of the feet. But the hidden language is not a collection of isolated parts. It is a symphony, and the most important element is congruence. Congruence is when the face, the hands, the torso, and the voice all say the same thing. When the body is in unity, we perceive the person as charismatic and trustworthy. When there is incongruence, we feel a sense of social friction. We might not be able to name what is wrong, but our intuition screams. This is the uncanny valley of human interaction. It is the politician who smiles while their eyes remain cold and calculating. It is the friend who says, "I'm happy for you," while their body turns toward the exit. The science. The human brain has specialized cells called mirror neurons. Research suggests these neurons fire both when we perform an action and when we observe it. This is the biological basis of empathy. If someone is genuinely happy, our mirror neurons simulate that happiness and we feel a glow. But if their body is sending mixed signals, our mirror neurons become confused. This confusion manifests as cognitive dissonance. The brain has to work harder to process the conflicting data. This is why talking to an incongruent person is so exhausting. You are constantly trying to solve a puzzle that doesn't want to be solved. True presence is simply the absence of these internal contradictions. The case study. Imagine Sarah, whom we met in Chapter 2, returning for a second meeting. This time, she has practiced internal alignment.
She doesn't just want the client to like her, she believes in her design. As she speaks, her hands move in perfect sync with her vocal emphasis. Her feet are planted, her chest is open, and her smile reaches her eyes. The client, who was guarded before, finds herself relaxing. Her own mirror neurons are picking up Sarah's safety signals. Without realizing it, the client uncrosses her arms and leans forward. The rhythm of the room has changed from a battle of wills to a dance of cooperation. Sarah hasn't used tactics, she has simply stopped fighting herself. The meeting ends with a handshake that feels solid and warm. There is no lingering doubt, no weird feeling in the pit of the stomach. Because Sarah's body was a single broadcast, the message was received with total clarity. The hidden language, when spoken fluently, creates a bridge that cannot be broken.
The drill. Stand in front of a mirror, or simply visualize yourself in one. Think of a hard truth you need to tell someone. Say it out loud, and watch your reflection, or feel your muscles. Are your hands hiding? Is your head tilted in a pleading gesture? Now, align yourself. Straighten your spine, as if a silver thread is pulling you toward the sky. Bring your hands out and use them to measure your words in the air. Speak the truth again, and notice the weight of the sentence. It feels different, doesn't it? It feels heavy in a good way. This is embodied integrity. It is the practice of making sure your inside matches your outside. Do this once a day with a simple statement. I am tired. I am grateful. I am ready. Learn the feeling of being a whole person.
The what if. What if you have to fake it until you make it? There are times when we must perform, despite our internal fear. The key is not to fake, but to direct. If you feel nervous, don't try to hide the nervous energy. Convert it. Use the adrenaline to move your hands with more purpose. Use the tension to stand with more presence. If you try to suppress, you create incongruence. If you channel, you create intensity. Intensity is honest, and honesty is always the most effective signal.
Conclusion. The call to mindfulness. We have reached the end of our silent map, but the journey is only just beginning. From this moment forward, you will see the world differently. You will see the leaks, the shields, and the bridges in every room. You will hear the music behind the words. But remember, the most important body you must read is your own. The hidden language is not a weapon to use against others. It is a flashlight to shine into the dark corners of your own experience. When you feel that knot in your stomach, don't ignore it. Ask it, what are you trying to tell me? Listen to your librarian. The body is the most sophisticated, honest, and ancient instrument you will ever own. Treat it with the respect it deserves. Slow down, breathe, and notice. The world is talking to you in 1,000 silent ways. Are you ready to listen?